Session. My name is John Lynch. I am a service designer working with Open and Agile Smart Cities, and in particular, I'm excited to moderate this next session because it deals with one of the major shifts in the economies and the cities and the regions and the communities we live in today, and that is the green and digital transformation of the proximity economy. And I'm sure we've all heard in many parts of Europe and the world, the shift, particularly through the pandemic, to what's on our own doorsteps. How can we access the services, access the businesses, the jobs, the recreational opportunities we need within our own 15-minute city. So I'm delighted to introduce 4 speakers today, and we'll have a panel discussion shortly between Dana Eleftheriadou from the European Commission, who's the head of cities and proximity team at the European Commission, Marcos Nogueira, who I believe will join us later, but isn't quite online just now. So we'll hope for Marcos to join us shortly. Marcos represents the Alentejo region in Portugal and is the coordinator of the Horizon 2020 AURORAL program. We've got Alex Gluhak, an old friend of mine, I'll admit, CEO and founder of the Urban Data Collective. And we also have exciting news that the Urban Data Exchange, which is the product offered by UDC, is integrated with our own city-by-city catalog. So if you're an OASC city wishing to share a solution, you can actually embed live data and showcase your solution inside the city-by-city catalog so that other cities can perhaps replicate that using UDX technology. And then finally, last but not least, we've got Francesca Spagnoli, head of projects and capacity building at ENoLL, but also leading the education and capacity building strand of the Living in the EU initiative, Join, Boost, Sustain. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get a quick policy framing from Dana. Dana's going to explain to us the direction behind this green and digital transformation of the proximity economy. And as you can tell, we've got a diverse panel. So we'll then turn to Marcos, should he join us, Francesca and Alex, to get their perspectives on how the projects they're involved in and the initiatives they're close to can support this transition and how we can all perhaps be a part of that. So allow me, if I may, briefly share my screen so that you can see the excellent slides we have.
Hey, John, is it okay?
Loud and clear.
Brilliant. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alex. I'm CEO and founder of Urban Data Collective, a company focused on enabling the urban data economy. Our mission is to democratize access to real-time urban data so others can do great things with it. And we were inspired actually by a previous EU project called Synchronicity, which is a large-scale pilot which successfully demonstrated foundations of a marketplace for smart city and service data. And our company has actually been spun out of some of this work, and we really help cities and urban infrastructure operators to take control of their local real-time data ecosystems so they can create value from it. And I think a key point I wanted to make is that actually hyperlocal data is essential for enabling a more proximity economy, right? And I think I was hoping obviously that Dana presented first, but it's one of the main points I wanted to make. And then the second point was really also discuss a bit about the role of marketplaces and what we're doing as well to enable a take-up of fast adoption of solutions around this. So our product itself is called Urban Data Exchange. It's a platform for managing and sharing real-time urban data streams. So it allows organizations to unlock those data streams from proprietary vendor systems and bring them together in a harmonized way, the combined hub, so it can be effectively used and shared with other organizations or within the organization, right? And we take out the hassle from managing and sharing real-time urban data, providing features such as metadata descriptions for easy discovery, data stream harmonization, access control, data licenses, SLA tracking, and even modernization. So why is sort of like urban data important to enable this proximity economy? So our experience shows that having an adequate data backbone in place is essential for a city or community or region to transition to a proximity economy, as this data is needed to underpin how this economy functions and works. So in the end, we provide a data space or a tool that enables someone to manage the data space and support this transition towards a more green and resilient city. So for example, urban data is needed to enable smarter decisions, both in terms of planning and real-time operation. And if I want to move towards a a proximity economy, I need to understand where are my local assets and infrastructures, mobility hubs, electric vehicle charge points, energy generations, and so on, or renewable energy sources to enable such resilient proximity economy. Where do we need to strengthen it? Looking at the resilience, so how can I improve the air quality, minimize pollutions, and prevent floods? How can I make districts safer and more livable? And in order to make those decisions, I need to first of all understand what's the baseline and need evidence, and then also monitor this as I'm progressing along my journey and my transmission. So there's also another element to it, not just the planning element, but also what I feel is like the more operational element where data is important. And it's not just historic data, but also real-time data. So a proximity economy allows us to, everything becomes more closer, and we are suddenly acting more ad hoc, and decisions need to be made faster in a timely way. So I need to understand much more in real time, what are the local resources currently available in my community and economy? So what transport means are available now and where, what resources can be accessed, which are currently in high demand, what's the footfall on my high street to drive basically economic transactions, how does the current weather or road conditions play a role in this? Just some examples where actually real-time data makes an impact.
Great.
And we ourselves work already on a number of initiatives across different cities where we're leveraging urban data. So an example is work in Birmingham we do with Transport for West Midlands around improving user experiences at park and rides, car parks around electric vehicle charging. So during the day, commuters can pre-book a charger in a parking spot and have it available. So in order to drive more reliable adoption, right, of EVs. And during nighttime, residents can actually use those charge points and recharge their cars. So you increase the overall resilience. And that's enabled by real-time data from charging points and from parking sensors that we have. Another example is, where do I need to deploy new charge points across my city, as an example, in order to enable a more sustainable transport means in my proximity economy. And as an example, where we work with the GLA, where we ingest data from a number of different charge point operators to understand what's the current use and demand and how is it going to be evolving, so they know where to prioritize new infrastructure investments next, right? Another example is around winter services and resilience. Like, you know, when it becomes cold, what councils usually do is they're gritting the roads all over the counties. But you dump a lot of salt needlessly on the street. And here again, we're looking at more hyperlocal data, such as road surface data, data around fleet telematics from the gritters, around weather, to understand where do I actually need to grit the streets and how can I actually save costs and be more sustainable in a sense, right? These are just some examples to sort of showcase how actually real-time data and more integrated use of real-time data can enable more resilience and a proximity economy. Yeah.
And it is quite exciting when we consider this transition, because cities have had many transitions over the years, and this is one where we are already empowered by real-time data to get it right. It's quite interesting to hear that, you know, what you're working on allows cities to showcase what's working already. And of course, then other cities and regions and communities and villages to say, we could take a piece of that too. With that in mind, to Francesca, if I may, because Francesca, I couldn't help but note, you know, from the work you're doing with Join Boost Sustain, the Living in the EU initiative, the quote in your bio actually says, to bring the economic and social benefits of the digital transformation to all local communities. And that is the inverse of what we've been talking about for a very long time, which is this scale across cities. The proximity economy and this idea of local communities, it sounds like they might work together. Can you tell us a little about how your work is helping with this transition?
Yes, thanks a lot, John. I hope you can hear me clearly and well.
Loud and clear.
Good. And so I'm very happy to be here, and thanks for the invite. And especially, I'm very lucky person because in my work every day I can exploit both the point of views from local and to transnational and then to international, and then coming back and to see what is the result that we are producing to the communities. So I was also very interesting to listen to Alex to these very specific local things that we can do on the ground, because in the end we need to do concrete results for the community. So first, just briefly to say a few words about what I'm doing and the activities that are relevant, in which I'm involved for this session. So I'm working for a European network of living labs. Of course, we are enacting a lot open innovation through our 160 members around Europe and beyond. We have grown quite a lot in the last few years, and now we have also members that we are working together closely every day with South Korea, for example, Australia, Canada, and it's very inspiring to see how you can do these things at international level. But then, yeah, the question remains what we're doing at the local level. And now I'm involved in this DT for Regions project that is a preparatory action from the European Commission that has the main objective to enhance this public administration efficiency through digital transformation by uptaking the artificial intelligence and big data collective solutions. And on top of it, this is also, of course, very focused on regions. So it's also another quite relevant level. So we have international, regional level, and then we have a local level with the cities through the Living in EU initiative, where we're really trying to combine this cities approach and this regions approach. Of course, it's not easy because you need to start from local. I'm very convinced of this in order to be able then to scale up what we're trying to do with the network, with our network at ENoLL. But it's very interesting to see, and I have the perspective of the person that is trying to help this public administration in acquiring more digital skills. So we're working both on the digital transition and the green transition, how we can support this mutual learning between very different kind of people within very different kind of communities. So what I think it's really interesting is to see that, first of all, sometimes cities and regions are not so different in terms of how they perceive things should change in their specific local context, first of all. And secondly, I think what is really important is that, of course, we need to take into account the different sizes, the different needs and opportunities that can arise in different contexts. I think what we're also trying to do with this kind of initiatives is to try to have everyone on board, in the sense that not only just signing the declaration, which of course is a very important thing for living in EU, for example, but also to try to listen to every kind of region which is interested to be part of it, to any kind of city which is interested to be part of it. So we have just through our capacity building program that we are trying to combine between the T4 regions and living in EU, we are trying to scope and assess what are the needs of everyone. And I don't know if we can share some links in the chat, but we have a questionnaire that we have opened, and I will be happy to share it if possible. So everyone that is coming from cities or regions can have their say on what are their needs in terms of digital skills and mutual learning, which means, of course, working together with all the kind of stakeholders, involving citizens from day zero in the approach. Is not just a top-down approach. In fact, in the T4 regions, we say we have both a top-down, bottom-up, and life cycle approach, in the sense that is also peer-to-peer learning. And what we are trying to do is to take these needs from the very local perspective, see what are the different needs in terms of local, regional, and then to try to transpose this into the transnational experimentations that we're doing through our living labs around Europe and beyond. I think this is the real sense of also how we can improve the mutual learning between the different cities to really enact this kind of green transitions and digital transition for the proximity economy. So taking into account what is happening locally, transpose it to at more national, regional, and then national level, and then to try to have it at international level. It's not an easy job, of course. It's very time consuming because we need really to talk with people, to go people by people and to talk with them. And even in a city, there are different perspectives that you have to take into account, and different people you have to talk with in order to really understand what are the needs. But I think at the end, it's rewarding because you will really see that there are different perspectives that are complementary and are joining and combined in order to create this real proximity environment, or local economy proximity environment. And I'm also very triggered by the idea of the city of 15-minute cities, everything is connected in one place. And now even here we see that even with the digital, we are having issues in connecting. But I think that this idea of not having just the local connected in 15 minutes, but trying to be to at least try to have this perspective of everyone connected to the same, to achieve the same results in the local context. That will be something that anyhow we need to go back and explore again. Because as you said at the beginning, it was just like scale up, replicate. Now, nobody wants to talk about replicability anymore, even in our projects that we are exploiting. But we need to have this perspective in order to go back and forth, make assumption, validate assumption, go back and forth, and really enact this kind of an open innovation process for everybody. That's my idea.
This makes my heart skip a beat. We've heard from the quantitative, the data, the evidence we can now thankfully collect after years of innovation in the smart space. But to hear the conversations coming back to the local level, speaking to people about needs, and then most importantly, that magic word experimentation. It's much easier to experiment, has been demonstrated with districts across Europe. Of course, I think you might agree, it's much easier to experiment in a 15-minute locality, perhaps, than across, in Alex's case, a city of 32 boroughs and countless different contexts. Now,
right. The quality is very bad. So, and I connected through my private device, so I don't know what's happening. But if you cannot hear me, then I would simply pass. What do you think, John?
I can hear you. I think we can hear you. If you want to switch off video and speak with us, I can share the slides. Or
I will switch off video, yes.
Great. In that case,
okay.
Let me share
Listen, no, we are running late. I would not share slides.
Okay.
I would not use the slides. I would simply pass a message, I believe, and then I'll let you finish the discussion. First of all, my apologies for everything that happened, connection issues, still 1.5 years in the teleworking environment. But anyway, thank you for inviting me today. I would like just to share with you and participants some latest policy developments with relation to the proximity ecosystem, the proximity economy. As you know, the updated industrial strategy wishes to pursue and accelerate the green and digital transition of the whole European industry, including, of course, the small and medium enterprises. And this is built around 14 so-called industrial ecosystems. Now, one of these 14 ecosystems is precisely the proximity and social economy. And with the proximity and social economy, in the ecosystem, we want to bring focus to local value chains, to local consumption and production, and all the businesses and services that are built around that, but also to human-centric city models and to social economy business models. Now, what I would like to bring your attention to was that in this effort to find out how we can accelerate the green and digital transition of this ecosystem, we published in December, just before the holidays, the so-called transition pathway of the proximity economy ecosystem. The transition pathway, I would be happy to share links, and John, you can share my slides as well, all is there, but it's practically an open consultation document. It is a document where we put our thoughts based on some initial consultation we have done with stakeholders on what type of scenarios and what type of accelerate this green transition. Cities, in my view, can play a very important role to accelerate the green and digital transition of the whole ecosystem. The consultation document is, again, structured around 3 pillars. You can imagine it's about the greening of the ecosystem, it's about the digitization of the ecosystem, it's about the resilience, building more resilience. There are a number of issues and challenges we have identified there, and there are a number of questions. So today I would like to bring this to your attention and practically invite all of you that you would like your voice to be listened to Europe. Please send us your feedback, and even beyond the transition pathway, more ideas that we may not have captured in the document about what type of actions, what type of investments we need and by whom to really implement the green and digital transition. The online consultation will be open until the 28th of February. So happy to receive your feedback and your ideas on this. Otherwise, I would like to very quickly speak about what we in DG GROW are doing in this area. And notably, with regards to cities, we are running the so-called Intelligent Cities Challenge program. This is a community of 136 small to medium European cities. And we try to support each other and to support practically cities to lead the green and digital recovery and improve their resilience, but based on high-tech solutions. On this point, we have developed together with OASC the technology for good marketplace, good examples based on innovative technologies that help cities and their citizens and their businesses and their local economy actors to operate better. So technology for good. The technology for good marketplace is structured around the different challenges, around the sustainable development goals. So you can find out what type of solutions respond to address the particular goals, but also you can find solutions from cities, social economy stakeholders, communities that are already tested and work, and they are recommended for the other communities. Again, an invitation here for you to take a look and to don't hesitate to let us know, John and OASC and ourselves, to let us know of any solutions that you are proud of in your city and would fit in this environment. With this, I would give the floor back to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, and for your resilience too in the face of the Zoom outages. Yeah, we are still live. I think perhaps it's just on your end that we have an audio issue. But thank you for that, and thank you for the resilience you've shown.
Over to you, John.
In the face of the Zoom outages that we're experiencing. That said, I'm happy that I was able to share your slides briefly towards the end. And on the subject of the Tech for Good Marketplace, we have about 15 minutes left. And I think what's really interesting about this new transition that we're seeing is not just that it's a policy point of view, but it's coming from the ground up. We can see in entities like the Tech for Good Marketplace on the city-by-city catalog, and of course with the Urban Data Exchange, which Alex has mentioned earlier, that local economies across Europe and around the world are beginning to focus on these advantages that can be had through a more proximal economy, which is of course more climate resilient and hopefully more livable for people in the way we live our lives every day. Both in rural, urban and suburban settings. I wondered if perhaps I might invite back, we still have Alex on the line. And I know, Alex, you and I have spoken in the past about the examples that are already beginning to emerge of technologies that are making a difference through data at the local level and enhancing things like safety as we use the streets in our 15-minute city, or in the same regard, the health and well-being of us as we transition, hopefully, to a place where we have, for example, a lower carbon footprint and better air quality. Are there already some examples beyond those you've mentioned earlier with the Greater London Authority, etc.? Are there others you have to share?
I mean, obviously, when I mentioned we're already like 4 or 5 examples that we're engaged in. So there are many others. I think a lot of them are actually surfaced on the city-by-city catalog. Okay. Just to sort of link back, which obviously OASC is compiling and managing, or OASC cities are compiling and managing. And I think linking back to the conversation as well that we had from Francesca, I think it's really about trying to understand first locally what works and then sharing this with others. And I think marketplaces or catalogs are good places to start, to share this good practices more widely. And that's why we spent quite a bit of effort as well now with you guys working over the last 3-4 months to also make sure that we can integrate catalog auxiliary merging. So, for instance, if you have a solution, let's say for safety of women in a city like Reading, that can be adopted by other cities and locations and environments, that you make and surface those. And at the same time as well, you can actually also point back to the data that those solutions are generating. And by generating, basically making them data available, you actually tangibly show that those solutions work. There is something behind. You create as well actually data that can be used for some benchmarking later your own environment against other environments. And then if you go back at the same time, if you're someone who is interested in the data, let's say, and you explore data in a city on our catalog, that you then end up as well in on some use cases and examples where actually this data is being used and leveraged in a meaningful way. And I think this interlinking is quite powerful, and hopefully, will allow then data users, but also people who look for solutions then to get inspiration from.
Absolutely, and I just have taken the liberty, Alex, as you described it, just to pull up that solution. I don't think anything describes, at least in my mind, the joy of the 15-minute city more so than the women partying in safety and the image associated with My Way, which of course is a solution now that's highlighted on the city by city catalog, but also through urban data exchange. I'm going to take this opportunity while we're all here to refer back to Dana's kind invocation of the Tech for Good marketplace, because there is an open call here. All over the continent and around the world, indeed, there are cities who are excelling in developing this local proximity economy, low carbon footprint, things within reach. The opportunity for us, I suppose, to reconnect with our own communities also, which is not to be underestimated, coming back to Francesca's invocation of the needs of local communities. And so the call goes out to everybody in the room today to check out marketplace.intelligentcities.eu, to reach out to us at OASC, as we have the privileged position of managing the inflow of solutions, which both municipalities and local government want to showcase, but also enterprises like yours, Alex, want to be seen on the Tech for Good marketplace, where recognition is plentiful for the kinds of efforts that are going on to achieve this transition. What I do find is perhaps a strong link, Francesca, thinking about your contribution earlier, is the needs piece, and it's possible to explore more than solutions in their hundreds through those needs. And we see, for example, smart and green mobility, key to this proximity economy, health and well-being of citizens, supporting safety and security, which we've heard from Alex. Francesca, I just wonder, with your activity in both ENoLL and then also looking at the work you're doing with Living in EU, what do you think are the most important things? What are the solutions? What are the challenges we should be trying to address as a priority that perhaps maybe people in the room could share solutions to? But as we try to green and achieve this proximal economy, what's standing out in those needs you're hearing from citizens?
Yeah, so first of all, I think now it has been created a motto, but it's important, I think, anyhow, even though it's still a motto, one size fits all is not a viable solution anymore. And we need to take this into account, both from the local point of view and from the international perspective, let's say. And also, I think the common mistakes that, for example, the public administration makes still today in terms of experimentation is that they're not involving citizens since day zero in the process. So they also have seen in some of the Dana slides that there is this concept of creating for citizens. And what we're trying to do is also creating with citizens, which means that citizens are really the ones who are coming and experimenting. It's not like the ones who are getting feedback or are testing or users. It's difficult for public administration, especially, to understand that they need to talk with people, even though they are working for people. It's difficult because it means that it requires a lot of mutual understanding before of the mutual learning of what they want to talk about in the city. But I think it's really important, and what we are trying to do also with our virtual learning lab at ENoLL is to try to give the basic concepts to citizens, to also understand that living labs and open innovation and also technical things are not just for the experts, but are also for them to try to understand how to talk with these public administrations, with local governments, with academia, with universities, and the same from the perspective of the living labs that perhaps are less involved in this process, but they want to be part of it. So for example, I'm thinking about companies, startups, SMEs, because a lot of living labs are also coming from this kind of a complex system. So how to have a mutual understanding each other to then get mutual learning. This is what we are trying to do. And of course, it's important to take into account their different sizes in cities, in regions, their different skills and also needs in terms of what they want to exploit. And then to give it back to the policy discussion at more a higher level for the public administrations, but also for the ones who are at a more European and international level, to try to understand how really what are the needs of these hubs, these kind of communities for a wide variety of information for this mutual learning. We are always talking also about how upskilling, reskilling, these are important concepts. But before going into that, I think, especially in the proximity economy, we should try to understand how to talk with people and what they really want and how they can really contribute to that, because they really can. And we also saw with the Living Labs that, for example, technical tools that are tested with the users from day zero, they have less issues in the market when they're coming into the market, so the less reluctancy to get it used at the end. So proximity economy, I think, is all about this, trying to be fast, as Alex was saying, and to be successful, because everything needs to be done in 15 minutes. Okay, it's not true, but let's say in this way. So if we involve the citizens, we really we really know what they want in the end, and we get it into the market in the right way at the right time. So I think that's the most important considerations, from my point of view, at least, to be taken into account from the ENoLL point of view.
It is understood, and in terms of the engagement of citizens, there is that careful balance we need to make between there can sometimes be an adversarial engagement at first, and the skills are there, and we've seen it in many of the projects that have been discussed through this festival as well. The skills are there now to manage those consultations, to manage that engagement. I love that you talked about that, because I want to restate on Dana's behalf the open survey that there is right now on behalf of the Commission to understand the perspectives, to hear the ideas, and to capture the great value there is probably in this room. So what I'm going to do as we reach the final few minutes of this session, I'm just going to share for a start the survey link, so everybody has that to hand. So please, everybody in the wider audience around the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night, take a moment to take a look at that survey, or at least bookmark it to complete tomorrow, because you are being engaged, you are being listened to. I'll also take the opportunity to just do a quick recap, if I may, because we've had a little bit of technical problems and 2 or 3 excellent contributors. But what I want to make sure is that if I can summarize the key points. So Dana joined us and explained the significant policy goal we have to encourage this greening of our societies, to achieve the digital transformation that's already underway, but also to emphasize this new concept of the proximity economy, which has built in almost all of those wonderful benefits we hope to achieve for our cities and communities across the world and across Europe. What I'm going to do very quickly, though, is share the screen, because I think I can enhance, hopefully visually, the points made by our other speakers. First of all, you're looking at the EU survey, that's the link just shared in the chat. Everybody please bookmark and contribute, because the listening ear is open. The second thing I wanted to mention is that in the In the chat, I've shared the slides, which Dana kindly provided us with. You can examine more of the information which is available online in terms of that transition pathway that was mentioned. The link is on the final slide of that PDF deck. Second or third from last, I wanted to draw your attention to the Tech for Good marketplace. This central hub is one of the fastest growing catalogs or marketplaces for solutions which will enhance this proximity economy, which will help us achieve the goals of greening and better health and well-being across cities and regions and communities. And it's open to all. It's not solely for any given project. It's right across any initiative that any municipality, any small enterprise is promoting. It's only validated solutions, so solutions that are working in the real world, and you can explore that today. You can also reach out if you wish to contribute. Exciting too is the work of Alex and his team at Urban Data Exchange. And Urban Data Exchange, we can see it as a new kind of marketplace where on the one hand, your city can showcase a solution, but on the other, where do you showcase the data? How do you manage the data that you're generating from multiple solutions? And what we're seeing here is a movement towards these out-of-the-box options where you can, in an open and interoperable way, look after those data streams. And then last but not least, 30-second plug before I thank our contributors. Of course, OASC is maintaining for members and beyond the city by city catalog, which is integrated with UDX. So we can both provide a showcase for your solutions, but also we can embed live data, and that will hopefully enhance the experience. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride, but on the other hand, I think we've done okay. And so in their absence, I thank Dana and Marcos, who Dana we heard from. Marcos, unfortunately, due to the Zoom problems, could not connect. But then thank you too to Alex and Francesca for being such excellent sports people. And it's wonderful again to hear of the work that you're doing. I need to hand over. We are looking our next session, assuming the computer gremlins stay away, is privacy, security, and trust for digital living. So with that in mind, it's over to you, Roberto, and thank you to everybody for attending and contributing today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.